In 1952, Jimmy Carter left a successful naval career to come back to Plains. His father had died unexpectedly, and he felt like he needed to return to run the family farm. Like his father, he became active in community affairs, most notably the school board. He had an active interest in education. But in 1962, he decided to expand his horizons and run for a new state Senate district. It was a very tough race, very close, allegations that his opponents stuffed the ballot box, but he was able to overcome the fraudulent election and be elected to the state Senate. In 1966, he decided to run for even higher office and sought the governorship of Georgia. Although he was unknown, he came close, but he did not prevail. However, he did come back in 1970, and in 1970, he was elected governor. You might ask, well, what was his legacy as governor? One of his major accomplishments was a major reorganization of the state. He took 285 state agencies, many of them quite small, and combined them into 20 agencies that would be easier to follow and easier to hold accountable. He also introduced zero-based budgeting, which was a concept that every year you should look at the budget from scratch to make sure that no money was being wasted. Also, he was very active in trying to improve race relations in the state of Georgia. Coming out of a period of segregated schools, there was a lot of work to be done, and he said in his inaugural address, the time for racial discrimination is over. He also had the portrait of Martin Luther King Jr. hung in the state capitol and hired many minorities to work in state government in high positions. He also tried to make Georgia more of an international state, leading trade missions abroad and building up trade with other countries. But he was not eligible to run for a second term as governor. That was restricted at that time by the state constitution. So in the later years of his term as governor, he started to think about running for the next highest office, President of the United States.
When Jimmy ran for the state Senate, I kept our farm supply business. I stayed at the office of the farm supply business and sold the fertilizer and seed and that kind of thing, and then bought the farmers' crops. That's what we did. Back that time, we'd buy the peanuts and cotton and corn. But Jimmy would go out every day and campaign, and he would come back with names of people, and I would write letters to them. I think he probably helped writing some letters, but that was my responsibility. And the children took, the boys took posters and nailed up posters all over town and that kind of thing, passed out some brochures in the counties around. Amy was not born at that time, but she never was old enough to campaign anyway in any of our campaigns. For governor, the boys campaigned some. They were, Jeff was not old enough to campaign. He was the youngest, and so he went with me, and we drove all over the state, just going from one town to another. Jimmy got in the governor's race late when our leading Democratic candidate dropped out with a heart attack. And so we didn't have very long to campaign and really didn't have time to organize or anything like that. That was the first time he ran. He lost that time, ran 4 years later and won. And we all got out and campaigned. Billy and Sybil ran the farm supply business while we campaigned. It was interesting. I loved campaigning. Got to meet so many new people and go to learn about all the places in Georgia. It was fun.